I've always wanted an outdoor shower. I didn't know this is the way I would get it, but I'm very pleased. So one of my favorite things about coming to Peaceful Pines is it's obviously like a relaxing, peaceful place. But when I get to the top of the incline, we go up and I see this little hump of land. And after I get past that, then I see the tent. And it's like instant feelings of peace and just tranquility. And I've always been an outdoorsy person, so it's just absolute perfection. And Joy and I bought this land a year ago, and a lot has changed and happened, but just the excitement coming up here and really enjoying it it just never gets old. Um, so yeah, and then seeing the stump with the mushrooms on it, it kind of makes you think about the history of this land and how beautiful it is and just how absolutely blessed we are to have it.
Welcome to Time by the Tent, another weekend here up at the land, extended weekend up here on a Friday, getting things set up here. Gonna get the fire going before I get too far in. Took the flagpole from emflag.com out, and as we talked about in the last video, the locking foam, I need to puncture a hole in the bottom of that in order to get the water to drain so it doesn't freeze the flagpole when it starts to get cold, and there's a drainage aspect to this. So that's what I'm doing right now before I get the flag put up and before we get anything farther into the weekend. What I'm using is a stake here, fiberglass stake, that would be used to mark a parking lot for where the edge is for like a snowplow type thing. So just going to shove it down in there, tap it down until I puncture the bottom of it, and then the water all drains out. It shouldn't be that difficult, but it may be that. Okay, I can see I got it drained enough to where I can see the I forget what you call it, the bolt that goes across to keep it elevated. And I just punctured a bunch of holes in that foam, and the water is seeping out considerably than where it was just sitting there. So I don't know if I've been able to get all the way through the bottom, but it's made a tremendous difference. So I'm going to put the flag up now and call this job good, because there's a lot of water in there. It went somewhere, so we're in good shape now. Gonna get the campfire going. What are we having for lunch?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs, just hot
And
dogs.
some grilled veggies.
Grilled veggies. Hot dogs and grilled veggies, okay. And last week got everything done on the list. We had 6 items and got all 6 items done. They were light items, they weren't long invested projects. This week I think I got like 9 or 10 things on the list, and don't expect to get through half of them because some of them are quite involved. But we're going to take and see what we can make happen. Very nice day. We ran through rain, but we knew it wasn't going to be raining here when we got up here.
It could rain.
It could rain. It can always rain, but right now unlikely. But we'll see what happens there. So certainly thank you for coming along and enjoying the trip with us. Got a fire going there. Gonna cook the veggies and the hot dogs. Got our flag put up from emflag.com. Need to mark that off the list, getting the water drained out of the round sleeve. So I'm gonna eat. Not gonna show you the hot dogs and veggies. You know what that looks like. And then kind of see what can be done, or what needs to be done, or what to be done for fun. Had this pine tree that has died. Gonna burn that up today and tonight. Just sorting out some of the bigger stuff, and then take the snips and kind of trim that down so it goes in the fire later. I like to, if I can, in warmer conditions like it is now, pick up the larger limbs that have fallen, trees that are close here that have died, and kind of save some of the firewood, larger pieces, for when it's cold. And I don't want to walk around and find stuff. And or when I'm hunting, I would just have a stockpile of wood there. And I don't have to work on getting firewood during the hunting time of the year. So I do have another tree that's on an embankment over there that I'm not going to cut down right now, but I would like to drop this way. And that would add the equivalent of probably 2 cartfuls of wood. When I speak about cartfuls, the gorilla cart, and cartfuls would be to the top of the railing. So it'd be a good little chunk of wood if I can get it dropped the right way.
So one of my favorite things about having a permanent campsite is I don't really have to limit how much clothes I bring up here. So I do use this travel size carry-on suitcase that holds my clothes and Joey's clothes, but I also keep some clothes, just an extra pair of shorts, shirt, pajama pants, and that ottoman there. And then I will rewear stuff like this, my pajama tank top and t-shirt thing. And then I probably won't rewear these pants, but I just hung them up just in case I want to, depending on weather. But I like that I can, like these hoodies here, I leave here. And I can leave stuff, I can bring stuff. And I'm the type of person that I don't mind re-wearing stuff, but if it's dirty or I feel like it's dirty, I want to put on something fresh the next day. And I like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And then I always bring a trash bag to put our dirty stuff in. We do have a laundry bag. I should start bringing that as well. So just some thoughts here.
For those of you who have not been following along, this is the deer hanger that Holly and I made about a month ago out of logs on our property, in which we can, when I harvest a deer, I can hang with this eye hooks up there and then butcher it out, skin it out, and take care of it if the weather's appropriate. So the thought was to use carabiners in order to take the game hanger and attach it to the eye hook when it is hanging. However, I'm going to have a pulley system up there, and that pulley system is going to be at least a foot when it's fully contracted and hauling the deer up, hosting the deer up. So I'd be the only one here in order to lift the deer up high enough in order to lock it in with the carabiner. So scratch that idea. The game hanger, I can have a rope around it and loop the rope around the eye hook. Use the pulley system to lift the deer up, and then once the deer is in the correct height, I can take that rope, run it through the eye hook, and then down to here and wrap it around the post here. And then I added this here so it won't slide up with the weight. I mean, I believe that with the friction of the rope and all of that it wouldn't slide up at all. But for added level of safety, whenever I'm underneath it, butchering it out, I put this so the rope can go underneath it, it can go up around it, it can do different wraps in order to lock that rope, which will be through the eye hook, connected to the game hanger. The deer will be attached to that as I am processing it, photographing it, whatever needs to be done there. And I did that on both sides. So instead of purchasing another eye bolt to go through here at, what was the eye bolts? $5.50. This will work, and it was free. Long way of telling you that that is in order to keep the rope from slipping up the post here. So I walked up to the top of the lake bog area where Holly has her little spot, and I cut that trail two trips ago, and there's wood there that's not good enough really to haul this way, but whenever I go out that way, I do bring back what I can, like 2 handfuls. I got 3 pieces I brought back tonight, just because why come back empty-handed whenever I can bring it back and burn it. It's just not good enough to fight to bring it all up when I can go 250 feet down the hill and actually get really good pine wood like this here. So it's something that you can think of, but as you're coming back, you can always grab what you see and then throw it in the fire. What are we about to do?
We're going to make, in a little bit here, we're going to get some onions and apples going so we can have them with our porks.
We're going to do it in the cast iron?
Oh, I was going to put them in tin foil.
We can do it in the cast iron.
Okay, we can do it in the cast iron.
Family decision.
Family decision.
So that and pork chops.
Alright, so I chopped up some onions and apples, and I use this salt-free herb seasoning that I get from Target, and some butter.
I think it's better not in the aluminum foil, because you're able to control the butter better.
The butter better?
And it doesn't burn to one of the side of the aluminum foil.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. I usually do it in a foil pack, but this is nice, too. I do it in a foil pack at home in an air fryer, so that's an option as well.
There's the pork chops and the apple, onion, what do you call it, saute? It's not a saute, what we stir fry?
Sure.
Mixture.
Mixture.
Fried pan stuff.
I'm making s'mores. Joey doesn't like s'mores.
How many are you making?
I'm going to make 4. Maybe Joey will eat one.
No, I don't want one.
Okay. Good morning. We just had a delicious breakfast of hash browns and chicken breakfast sausages. Regular pork breakfast sausages kind of mess with my digestion. So the chicken one should be better, hopefully. I guess we'll find out.
We didn't film it. We forgot to film it, but Holly's gonna take a rinse off shower in the shower rinse off area. So I got the water from one of the aqua, or what do you call it, aquatainers, and I'm gonna get that going and warmed up on the butane stove. And then this is a submergible pump that we got off Amazon. The link is in the description below. It works very, very well for this purpose. I think it can run like 90 minutes, and it's got an on-off. While it's, you can rinse off. You can turn the sprayer off or leave it on. So it just gets submerged, and it has suction cups on the bottom to where it can utilize every bit of water in the tank. And the paperwork or the description says it can handle water up to 140 degrees, which I don't think you would want to shower in 140 degree temperature. But so that's good there. Here's the rinse off facility. So I'm going to light that and get that water warming up, and then she will tell you how the shower went and the use of the portable shower thing after the event has concluded. And we had thought about getting like a turkey roaster stand with a big butane burner that like 75,000 BTUs. But we're not boiling oil or trying to deep fry a turkey. We're simply trying to get water up to a comfortable temperature. And we had this stand sport we bought on sale at our local camping store. And it's a 20,000 BTU with both burners going at full blast. So, and it just runs off of a 1-pound cylinder. Now we can take and get a 20-pound cylinder, which if you do that, you want to get that filled up at an independent, like an Ace Hardware or whatever, and they'll actually fill it up to 20 pounds. When you just exchange it, a lot of times, the manufacturer only has it at 15 pounds. So there's a fun little fact there. So I got it on 2 logs. So very low cost. The only thing that we expended on for this shower, we got the cloth for free. I got the poles off the land. We had the shower curtain cover thingy in the attic. We already had the stove. We already had the propane. That was the only expense that we have had, is that pump, which I think is $49. I think that's what we paid for it. But we did test it out, and from the little bit of trial that we did, absolutely worth the $50 in order to rinse off at camp if you've been working in the woods and you want to get clean, and or if it's, you want to get done hunting and you want to rinse off with very warm water and then take time and relax in the tent. Certainly well worth it in an off-grid situation. The only disadvantage is we have to import the water. Now, that being said, down at the bottom where that Lake Lagoon pond is, about a month and a half ago, I went down there and dug a 2-foot hole by 2-foot diameter hole to get water to go in it. So I need to go down there shortly and see what that looks like, see how clean that water is, and if that water is clean, I will take the AquaPure aquatainer and fill that back up and bring it up. Both of these were brought from home. But if I can access clean water, not drinking water, but just rinse off water, I think that's the smarter way to go than to drag water 3 hours from home when I can do it 3 minutes from the shower.
Okay, so I had the first official shower up here at Peaceful Pines, and it was a lovely experience. Plenty of water to do what I need to do. Obviously, I didn't wash my hair, but I'm not going to try to wash my hair here anyway. I do use Dr. Bronner's, which is a safer for the environment soap.
Pressure-wise, what was it?
The pressure was good. Got cleaned up, got rinsed off, even had some extra water to kind of just enjoy an outdoor shower.
We were able to get the water up to 105, and that's when we turned the burners off.
Yeah, it would have been too hot, I think, otherwise. It was like
hot tub temperature at that point.
Yeah, it was the perfect temperature. I've always wanted an outdoor shower. I didn't know this is the way I would get it, but I'm very pleased.
Okay, Holly's going to stay at camp. I'm going to head out in the woods. There's a trail that I want to cut and clear that gets me back to that deer stand much more effectively than fighting all the limbs. I got to knock a lot of limbs down. Like I did on the deer hanger over there, I did mount a bracket here so I can strap the pulley system, and I cleared an area where I would put the deer down there and then hoist it up with the block and tackle pulley system, and that can be used in case I need to tie it off. And I didn't plan to do it the way I did it, but right over there you'll see the no trespassing sign. That's where I go down, and I've got a path and go across. This is a state trail for hike, horse, snowmobile, four-wheeler ATV, and then that's the other side of the property over there. So last year when I got the 3 deer, the early in the season bow hunting, I pulled it up by hand with the rope up this embankment here, and that was about all I really wanted to do. That spike buck was about 80 pounds, and you know, there's every bit of a 20-foot incline there at a high rate, steep there grade. The 50-pound fawn was no issue. The 120-pound 7-point, I drug it to the trail, and then I took the wagon down and I loaded on the wagon, took it to the end of the property where it's a much lower incline, and then drug it up that way, and then came up and drug it in the camp. So we're trying to figure out how to do it a much easier way, so it's not as overwhelming for me to get the deer to camp, and then at this point this year hang it up and process it if weather and time allows. So I'll show you what I'm going to do whenever I get out to the trail, or out to where I'm going to clear more of the trail that I've already made. So right down there and across is camp. You can kind of see it through the trees there. When there's no leaves, you can see it really easy, but nobody from the trail can see it. And I have created, last year I created a path. This goes about 100 yards, and then I need, or would like to clear a path the additional 50 yards this way. It goes down the hill, and then it comes to a flat spot where you can walk across that trail and go up to where I described pulling the deer up last year this way. And I kind of got a path somewhat clear in that way. It'd be easier if I want to walk up this way, or Holly wants to come over here, she can walk up easily and then explore. And then I've kind of got the perimeter, or a good chunk of walking area cleared. I do have a path kind of going through there where I had a tree stand last year, cleaned that out. So that's what I'm wanting to do as I get in the woods. I just want to see how easy it was going to be here to clear this out, and it's going to be easier than what I thought. So this was, I guess at some point, some type of logging road. In the old aerial photographs it's really open, but in the newer ones it's very closed in, and I can't even identify it when I fly the drone over. Typically this was the turning point to go to the stand over there, and the stand in which is in the center of the property, harvest the 3 deer. To get to that one, I would go there and then take a loop and then follow in between the rows of trees. Instead of doing that, I'm going to save a lot of walking here. Come off this trail here, and then I cleared this area right here, and then I would walk down this path. Since this is MFL land, all these trees were placed in rows. So I will find where my path is and then just go right into it from here. Instead of saving, you see the marker there, marker there, marker there. I can just go right into it from here and save a couple extra steps. So I think it was last week I came in here and cleared with the sickle. So I was a little off, but it will save me some steps. You can see the ribbons there and there. And I came in here with sickle and cut down so I could identify the path better. And things like this. That tree there I'm going to cut here. And then you can see how the limbs on both sides want to grab you when you walk by. So I'm going to clean that path out. And this will actually potentially help funnel the deer in because it's less resistance as well. So if you've got property and you're a hunter, or if you simply walk trails and you want to create trails, you want to make it very easy for you to get in and out of the tree stand, the hunting area without getting caught on everything. And or if you're walking in trails, you want to make it easy for you so you're not getting snagged on stuff. Looking good. Nice wide path that I can get an animal out as well as get in. And a chainsaw, would a chainsaw work? Not really. These lower limbs are just so brittle that you just fight the chainsaw. It would just jump and skip. Just easier to do a little grunt work with an axe and a bow saw and knock it out. A lot of work now, but when you're trying to slip in and out and time is limited on a Friday night, you get up here and you got 45 minutes to hunt type of situation. You don't want to have any, you want to have minimal variables of negative influence on your hunt by hitting a branch or snapping a branch or taking an extra 30 seconds to get to the stand because you have to climb over some brush. Last year I got in here on a Friday on November 3rd. It was a Friday. I got things done. 3-hour drive up here and slid into this stand, and I was not in the stand more than 10 minutes, and I had that spike buck walk 13 yards to my right, and I took a shot at it. It ran 80 yards that way. Of course, ran in the lowest valley that the property has to offer, and then my hunt was over. So that's the purpose of what I'm doing, to make it ease of access, and so I can get the animal out easier with the wagon or by dragging it. Thanks for coming along. Appreciate your viewership and helping me out this weekend. There be the tree stand and the path cut. There you go. Now, a perfect scenario would be that mowed and leveled, but this is the woods in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. That's as good as it's going to get, and I'm happy with it. Now, the next project on the list here is I've got 2 pine trees, decent size, that are dead. And I want to cut them down and get them to drop this way, because camp's right there, and a lot easier hauling these over there than hauling wood up from by the car. So we have this embankment, so I got to be careful when I stand and cut. I'll notch it, but also I have not the right tools. I'm aware of that. I don't have the rope that I thought I had. So I've got 2 come-alongs, or ratchet straps, and I have a nylon rope here that was on a deer stand that I bought, which I would never use to wrap around a tree. I would certainly use one of these with a, what is it, 1,000-pound test, a load weight, and 1,500-pound breaking point, rather than a nylon rope, which I understand can have up to 1,200 pounds, but I like to see the actual test on these before. Anyway, so it is tight. I'm going to try to drop it in this area. I'm aware that it might get hung on that tree, but if I can just get it leaning this way, we'll be in good shape. So in this situation, want to be real careful how we do it. Did okay. Okay, so that went as good as it could have gone. Um, Down there, I did my notch cut. Closer. I did my notch cut, and you can see it's just muck where that's connected there. So then I did my back cut, and I cut it just enough where the V, it dropped down into my notch, and that's when you saw it kind of shake and stop where it was. So I did, let's see which way is it, anyway. Yeah, I did my back cut, and you can just see this just muck here, and then this V sat right in there and just kind of balanced until I jumped up here and tightened it up and pulled it, and it worked out really well. So I'm gonna buck this up, and then I have a second one right there that I would certainly like to have similar results on dropping it. Now, there's another one there, not going to touch that at all. And there's a big, I think it's birch, that's leaning over the trail. That's a foot in diameter. I'm not touching that because there's no way I could get that to fall unless we hooked like a tractor up to it and pulled it as I was cutting it. So I only will tackle ones that I know I can have a good opportunity to successfully drop. There's a couple of more in there that are dead, but that's not a priority. And I'm actually doing somewhat of a favor here, minimizing a tree droppage on the trail that somebody has to go in there, cut, and then what they do is they just line the trail with the dead trees so I can utilize it. It's good wood. That is a good solid piece after I got off of that stump. That snapped. It was rotten at the top. But it did exactly what we needed it to. All right, I got both of those down and chopped up. Most of that wood will be for campfire wood, just because that's what I'm needing it for. There's some bigger pieces here that are pretty clean that I would set aside for in the tent. This tree has clearly been dead for some time. It's very, very dry. Now, before anybody says in the comments, that is an incredible incline, and I had the safety rope there in order to pull it this way so it wouldn't fall in the trail. Now I would not, now in this I calculated, thought about it, how am I going to do this, how is it going to fall, looked above, see what was in the way. I mean, you can see that tree there, that tree is dead, but I don't think there is any safe way. If I said, oh, let's cut that one down, I've got this tree in the way, I've got that tree in the way. Even if I could get it to fall between the trees, you see where that's not a doable. And it's leaning a good 30 degrees that way. You know, it's leaning like that at the top. So anyway, my point is, I wanted to make sure they fell the right way, had good anchor. I was not going to rely on just relief cut and then cross cut and have it fall the way I wanted to. In this situation, I needed, the only option was for it to fall that way, because if it falls on the state trail, I got to go down and clean it up. It's a whole mess. This is the way I wanted it. Now, when I'm down on level ground, I'll cut trees all day long by myself. I have no issue with that. They're not massive trees. They're 8, maybe 9 inches in diameter at the most. But in this situation, I would never do this by myself. Holly was over there. Not that she was going to run over here and push the tree, but in the worst case scenario, she can get help in a way that I would not be able to if worst thing happened. So that's why I took so many precautions and cut very slow, and probably somebody is not going to be happy with the way I did it, but this is the way that I did it. I took the precautionary measures that I felt needed, made sure somebody was here in order to access help if need be, but everything worked out well. Good Lord protected all of us, and we got it on the ground, and that job is done. We've done a very poor job with what we're eating for meals.
Why?
Well, we just haven't showed them what we've been eating.
Oh. Yeah.
What do we have for lunch here?
We had deer burgers with baked beans and some chips. And our buns that our friend gave us, unfortunately, were moldy. That's not her fault. I think it's probably just because
they were in the tent.
They were in the tent.
And I've had it where I've brought fresh stuff up and overnight that has molded in the tent because of that moisture.
And then they went to the car.
And they went to the car.
And it was very damp.
Damp, yeah.
But luckily, we had
backup
bread. So never discount bread for buns.
I don't know what the problem is. We always ate bread with buns. We never got fancy buns.
I know.
Okay.
But we had the free buns. So.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's not like we purchased the buns. And they were like kind of bakery buns, so they probably don't have as many preservatives.
They were fresh, and that's why they didn't last as long.
Yeah. So here's the. That's what we did.
So we got the tree down, and then we went ahead and ate. Very happy the tree came down the way it did. So I've got a couple more projects to work on. You're going to take a nap, or plan to, or try to?
Probably. We'll see.
Not going to do any crafts?
I don't think today, no.
All right.
I might read.
All right. So that's where we're at. Very nice day. High about 80 degrees. They're calling 79. It's going to probably get to 80.
Okay.
And we learned a new term on the news last night, burn time.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's because we're in the Northwoods and Wisconsinites have a lot of German, like Norwegian, and like Polish heritage.
But it's not like the sun's never existed up here.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of the extended UV rays. I'm not really sure.
Because it was a 7 out of 10.
It was a 7 out of 10, and so that meant that you could burn in direct sunlight in 15 10 to 15 minutes, I think.
15 to 30
Oh,
minutes.
15 to 30 minutes. So they were.
If it's a level 10, I think you just, or no, it just burns the top. You're not even allowed to go out.
I think they were advising. They were advising to wear sunscreen, reapply, be aware, seek shade, etc.
But we're from, when we watch the news, our news is from the Milwaukee area, and I'm from the St. Louis, the Southern Illinois area. We've never heard that term before. I mean, we don't watch the news on a regular basis, but I would think we would have heard that term, burn time.
I also feel like they look for content.
Catchy terms, too.
Catchy terms. I don't know. There's a lot of people out here that go on boats, and that could be directly affect you too. So I don't know.
All right, well, that's our little fun thing for the day. I didn't bring you along. I showed you earlier what I wanted to do was cut down to the, when I came over there and was going to go cut the trail to the tree stand, I started cutting the other direction. I got that and completely cut all the way down to the lower end of our property line. So that is done for now. Now at some point I need to work on this side of the trail in order to finish connecting the two trails there from behind the tent to across the ATV trail. But that was the main thing, was cut a trail in order to get access to the current trail, which I've already cut that you saw earlier. Okay, so here is the hole in which I dug 2 months ago or so. So I've got a rag here, and I'm just going to filter the water in, and it'll be good enough to heat up, and this is everywhere. Heat up and rinse. What is that in there? Some kind of snake or slug in there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Oh yeah, I don't know what those are. There's one there too, and another one, and another one. Huh. I don't know what those are. Possibly leeches? I don't know. If I haven't figured it out and put it on the screen, maybe you can tell me what those would have been or are. Alright, I think what's going to work better is if I go get a bucket and then I can pour, I don't know. I think I might just scoop the water out and then filter it. Pour the water in the container, take it back, put it in a bucket, and then filter it through so that it doesn't clog the shower head up. I think that's going to be the way to go. Okay, so now that I'm back, I've got a 5-gallon bucket, which I've cleaned out. I've got a light shade, which is plastic, that will act as a funnel. And I'm going to put the hand rag there, acting as a filter to get the large particles out of that water. And then that will be the way it will work. We'll see how well this particular procedure works through the shower head, and if this is a way of which it will work, then we will continue. If not, then we'll go back to hauling clean drinking water from the house. So after the first filtration, still awful dirty. The rag used as a filter was awful dirty as well. Still have about a half a gallon left in the bucket there, in the container. So I am going to filter it again. Trying to figure out how this is going to work best, so I'll get back with you. Okay, so with the water filtration, one thing is I know it can be done. Second is it takes too long. So what I will do with the Aquitainer. I will take that home, put a little bleach in it, rinse it out, get all the contaminants out of it, rinse it out with lemon juice, and then put clean water in it and bring it up next week for water storage as I have with that one. So the story with this is there's no more sediment in the bucket. This is the third filtration. First filtration was that rag there, and then I've just got a little bit more going. Yeah, that's pretty much it, so I'll pull that. We know that there's a certain level of what do we call it in the water? Tannin in the water from the pine trees and everything else that is there. So let's take a look at 2 and 3 filtrations and what that towel looks like. Okay, well, that was all smashed together, so not that bad. That took out a lot of it. So I will use this later to shower with. I don't see there's nothing wrong with it. In filtration 2, I could see a lot of sediment in the bottom of the bucket, and now I don't see anything at all except for just the tannin in the water. So we learned something. If we need to, we can, but it's just easier to bring up 7 gallons of water than to go through all of this and filter and filter and filter unless it's absolutely necessary. I'm going to go to the other side over there and work on cutting a tree for a bench, and you can come along with me. This here is Holly's little area we cleaned out, and just down the hill here next to the pond, beavers used to be in here, but they were, from what reported, illegally harvested, so there's no more beavers. They've done a number when they were here on trees. Now, in a video way back a year ago, I talked about this big tree here to give some perspective. How big it is. So what I want to do is I want to cut it into chunks and then try to take it back to utilize as the sides of the bench, or make it another bench, a wide bench with this log. So let me get cutting. I'll bring it back whenever I get to where I need to be or think something good is going to come. That's the top part. Always wanted where a beaver has gnawed the tree down so I can put that by the tent. Now I need to cut the links for the sides of the bench. One is up by the wagon now. Now I just gotta cut the second one and roll it up here, and then make probably 3 trips with the piece I already have in there. Gonna only try to make 2. Oh, that's a heavy log. It'll work for what I want. Again, well, I have a tape measure. I have a tape measure. I can tell you how wide we're looking. 15 inches. Yeah, 15-inch diameter. It's going to get smaller on the next one. 13. So, next one to cut. Up the hill they rolled, and there they be. Now I got to get them in the wagon. One at a time is all we're going to move. And then that piece there, I'll put that by a tent. That was the most difficult part, was getting them up that hill, and from where that tree was setting to up here is about 15 feet elevation on a very, very steep terrain. So I will spared you the agony of me getting it one in the cart and dragging it or pulling it to camp. And I'll just see you back in camp when both of them are there, and then I can proceed with this project tomorrow, because that's got to get squared up. This side doesn't look too bad. Maybe just I got to square it slightly up. That looks pretty decent. That needs a little squared. So that's why I gave it a little extra. I know it was extra weight carrying, but have a little extra and then be able to do what my envision is for this.
Okay, so when Joey was down collecting the beaver lumber,
The bench lumber.
What?
The bench lumber.
The bench lumber. I call it the beaver lumber because the beaver created it. He found the portion here that the beavers did their beaver thing with.
That's gonna fall, but
that'll fall. But we're putting it here, next to my lantern, my little pine tree friend.
I mean, there's some of it pulled apart, but I mean, it's probably slight lag, but still they took a big chunk out of it and dropped it in the water. But that wagon with the rails sure makes a difference. Like, you make 2 trips instead of 4 or 3. We remembered.
We remembered to show our meal here. These are pan-fried cast iron potatoes and beer brats. These are German beer brats. I got them from Aldi, so they're a little bit different maybe than the ones that you're used to seeing.
And the nice thing about cooking over the campfire with cast iron, you can get that thing smoking hot, I don't know how many hundreds of degrees, and put a char on the potatoes that you cannot get inside. So tomorrow, if it doesn't rain, I will debark these and put them up on a couple of logs each, just to try to get them to dry out a little bit. They are still very wet. I don't know how long that tree has been down for, but there is still a lot of moisture. And next week I'll do the cuts similar to this, but this here would be elevated 10 inches and potentially put a back on it. I don't know if I'm going to do that quite yet or how but that's a next week project. I've got the water that I filtered warming up. I'm going to take a shower because I'm sopping wet and sweat. Got the fire going, and that's going to be about all for tonight, unless something exciting happens. Otherwise, we will see you in the morning. So took a shower, finished up the conversation about that. Well worth it. What did we spend? $45, $50 on that pump?
I think so.
Well worth it. And that we didn't spend anything extra on a heating source. That camp stove worked excellent, and it gets the water up to 100 degrees, and that's fine, especially as the days get cooler. That will feel even warmer. Very big difference. Works out really, really well. So if you're in an off-grid permanent campsite situation, again, that pump is in the description below. Absolutely worth it. And that, the way we've got it set up, we're good. And the pond water that we filtered, I couldn't tell the difference. But we will go with clean water or imported water from the house just to save time.
Okay, so we have hash browns and eggs for breakfast.
You gonna tell them good morning or no?
Oh, good morning. I got ash all over me. That's what we're having.
That's what happens when you have a fire. I brought these over here last night. You saw that. This morning before breakfast I debarked them. I'm going to let them dry. I don't know, again, when the tree fell, but still there's a lot of moisture in it, which is not a big deal to me. But what I'm doing now is I'm simply just squaring them up. So next week I can come up here and start working the project of creating this bench. And then this is a project I'm going to work on before I leave. That is another DVD stand, but it's going to be 21 inches high because that's what will fit underneath the window next to the one that I made a couple of weeks ago. In addition, this can also substitute as a VHS stand for some of the hunting VCR tapes that I've got. And fun fact, it takes 2 DVDs to equal the width of 1 VHS, and they are both the same height. So that is the 2 projects here that I'm working on, and I'm sure there'll be a few more before we leave. All right, got that done. 2 tower, 21 inches high is what I needed, and based on the calculations with the 1 VHS tape I have, should be able to get 6 on the top and 6 on the bottom. Or if you did DVDs, she would be 12 on the top, 12 on the bottom. So that will be more than adequate for what I need, and then I can use, I think I've only got I will acquire 4 or 5, and the rest can be DVDs if need be. So that's a good little log there. I'm just going to kick that to the side and not use it in case I do come across that I need a few more towers. Under the window, I think I can get three towers, 2 more. That one plus 2 more. So that's another thing off the list to do this weekend. So I'm back at where that log was cut yesterday for the side rails, or the corner post or whatever for the bench. I'm going to take and I'm going to split this log in half, 7 foot, and utilize that as the seat. There's some maneuvering, I'll have to do some trimming, but I'm going to see how well this is going to work out. Alright, got that cut in half. It's not as pretty as it was going real good about 65% of the way in. Then I started going downhill, but it is salvageable. There's nothing wrong with it. That's extremely heavy. Well, no. I went a little loofy there, but that is not bad at all. That is a pretty board. Heavy, but pretty. So I'm going to get this piece up the top of the hill. I'll finish cutting that piece off, get it up to the top of the hill, and then just let it set until next week. So I don't know weight-wise what that is. 7 foot by 14. I don't know what kind of wood it is. It's a wetter wood. It's wet. You might be able to see the incline there. I'm just taking it and flipping it end over end. End over end. Being careful where I put my feet so it doesn't come back on me. But one more flip and I'll have it where I need it to be, and I can bring the wagon over with the ratchet straps and then take it over to camp. I didn't know the lens was smudged the last couple of shots there. So I'm not going to bring the other one up, at least not now, until I absolutely know that I need it or don't need it. I don't think I'll need too much to handle. This one's too much to handle. And the purpose of the bench was to lay down. That I can. It's not as comfortable as 21. So I will determine that next week. Brought the ratchet straps up last week. We got them last year for a tree stand, and I used a different method of hanging the tree stand. They were for the tree stand, and today and yesterday I've used them for 2 different jobs, so always good to have them. Alright, got that over here. The other one is just going to set. This is just the way it's going to be. But the Gorilla cart absolutely came in handy here. There's no other way I would have gotten this over here. Now we're going to eat Spam and potato chips, and maybe a few pickles. Well, that will do it. Another very productive long weekend here up at the land. Getting the security camera plugged in. Happy that you have hung around to the end. If you have, why don't we put log in the comments below to let me know that you've made it this far. And until next time, we will see you then.